All right, thanks, you guys. Well, it was a rough week for a couple of the candidates, and that is starting to show this morning in some of these poll numbers. Brand new data just out. This coming from the Wall Street Journal, and here's what it shows. Mitt Romney gaining, Herman Cain and Rick Perry sliding at the moment. And this is a small sample, and that makes the poll unscientific, but it is clearly worth looking at this morning. That's how we get started today. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with us. I'm Martha McCallum.
The numbers, they are changing. Good to see you, Martha. I'm Greg Jarrett in for Bill Hemmer. All the candidates, by the way, were in South Carolina this weekend for the first debate to focus squarely on foreign policy. Iran was top of the agenda.
The president should have built credible threat of military action and made it very clear that the United States of America is willing, in the final analysis, if necessary, to take military action to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon.
You know, there are a number of ways to be smart about Iran and relatively few ways to be dumb, and the administration skipped all the ways to be smart.
You know, the old-fashioned way, the Constitution, you go to the Congress and find out if our national security is threatened. And I'm afraid what's going on right now is similar to the war propaganda that went on against Iraq.
If there's anything that we know, President Obama has been more than willing to stand with Occupy Wall Street, but he hasn't been willing to stand with Israel. Israel looks at President Obama and they do not see a friend.
All right, David Drucker joins me now, staff writer for Roll Call. David, you know, one of the takeaways from Saturday night seemed to be a lot of focus on Herman Cain. He said he was very ready for this foreign policy debate. Let's take a look at a piece of what he had to say on Saturday night, and then we'll look at some of the numbers and get your reaction.
First, make sure that you surround yourself with the right people. And I feel that I'll be able to make that assessment when we put together the cabinet and all of the people from the military, etc. I'll have a multiple group of people offering different recommendations. This gives me the best opportunity to select the one that makes the most amount of sense.
So what do you think? How do you do, David?
I don't think he did that great. I think that while voters are willing to cut first-time candidates, non-traditional politicians, non-professional politicians a little bit of slack, especially with an issue like foreign policy, national security, they're going to want to see some depth. And just saying you're going to surround yourself with people to give you the right recommendations is not enough. Contrast that, Martha, with Herman Cain on the economy. He doesn't say he needs to surround himself with the right people. He says he knows exactly what to do. We know that 999 pretty much came from him. If you talk to his staff, they'll tell you how the original percentage was 8.7, and he said that's too complicated. Make it 9. And so I think that if he's going to move forward in this race and stay top tier, never mind the scandal issue, he's going to have to do better. And do not forget, if he gets into a general election, we know this race is all about the economy, but if there is a major foreign policy or national security event and he doesn't look prepared, it is going to be a huge problem for the Republican Party up and down the ticket potentially if voters, independents, see him as not ready to be president.
And that's really been the area where he's already had several significant gaffes, and he needed to make up some ground in it on Saturday night in terms of foreign policy. Let's take a quick look at Perry. It was also a very important night for him, coming off of his failure to lift the 3 events. So let's take a look. All right, we're going to have it 1 second.
Well, at Governor Perry would tweet back to her that absolutely every country would start at 0. Obviously, Israel is a special ally, and my bet is that we would be funding them at some substantial level. But it makes sense for everyone to come in at 0 and make your case.
So this got a lot of attention, and it got Santorum and Bachmann in from the sidelines also sort of saying, no, you know, you really cannot go to 0 in terms of some of these countries in foreign aid. How did they all handle all this, David?
Well, I thought this issue was also tricky, and you noticed that Rick Perry, after the debate, was already walking it back, at least where Israel was concerned. And for Republicans who think that they have an in possibly with the Jewish vote in 12 because of Obama's relationship with Israel not being seen as good as at least the previous president, if not many past presidents, this could be problematic because I can see Obama say, look, Israel's not starting at 0 with me, and that gives Democratic Jewish voters who are on the fence because of the Israel issue a reason to stay with the president. I suspect that whoever the nominee is doesn't believe that Israel and a few other nations would actually start at 0, have to come to Washington and make their case. So I see this as a great talking point that's going to go away rather quickly.
It's a popular notion, though, with a lot of lot of voters in terms of, justifying those expenditures in this tough economic time. David, thank you so much. Good to get your thoughts on it this morning from Washington. David Drucker.
Thank you.
All right, for the very